Hot minute since I've gotten to one. If you guys didn't see it, I dropped a live video on Sunday with Plain Rainbows, which is an ex-Amish and Anabaptist LGBTQ group and podcast that is starting. Highly recommend that you check it out, especially because, if you live in my geographic proximity, we are near Amish people, but we don't know a ton about them, and I feel like the world knows even less about Amish LGBTQ people. So definitely check that out if you have a chance. Sorry for that. I don't know how to fix that in a live video, but here we are. But I wanted to just chat with some folks and see how you guys were doing. It's been a minute since I made a live, and a really large amount of things have happened since I talked to you all last. So basically, what happened is I blew up on TikTok this past week. I made a little video as I was just haphazardly coming home from the gym one day, if I'm being honest. And my TikTok's pretty small. Like I had like 1,000 followers, I think, at the beginning of the week, and nothing special, nothing huge, nothing really recognizable on it. I just wanted to start one so I could be like the cool kids, you know what I'm saying? But something happened this week, and on this video that you see here, whoa, mirrored cameras. On this video that you see here, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm standing. Anybody who's local knows this. But what happened is I made a video about a year ago, and I called out the evangelical church in general for being hateful and bigoted and causing harm to society. And the pastor of this church decided to go public with a couple videos and intentionally misgender me in the videos. Now, at the time, I hadn't really asserted my non binary identity, so he literally just called me she and her the whole time, as well as calling me evil and inciting hate and violence, which obviously didn't sit very well with me. But I kind of went back and forth on what to say, how to say, when to say what I was going to. But this past week, I got a little sass in my pants, put my sassy pants on, and I went up in front of this church and I decided to make a little video, and their sign says his name is Jesus. And so I decided to just correct it a little bit because this pastor seems to think that my pronouns are she, her, weirdly enough, because I'm never misgendered as she, her in public. And what happened was I snapped my fingers and I made the sign say his name is Leo and his pronouns are they, them. And I just thought it'd be a funny TikTok. I thought some people would get a like out of it. And, I went back to doing my daily thing. And then my phone started blowing up with notifications, which was weird, And all of a sudden, I realized that my video had gone viral. This video had gone viral. However, seems like a great thing until you realize that the whole wrong side of TikTok found this video. To quote my wife, she said, "What in the Alabama hell? Where did these people come from that are on your video?" And so there's like 42,000 views on it or something like that. And most of them were people asking me, no, not asking me. There were people telling me to drop my pants so they could see my genitals and figure out what I was. Just horrible kind of messages, right? All over the place. But the great irony in this video was the fact that no one could decide what my gender was. People were calling me ma'am left and right and telling me I had an awful beard, which we obviously know is a lie because look at this guy right here, right? But then there was another person who said, "I can tell by your hands and by your hairline that you're obviously a biological male and you need to get over it, bro." And I was like, thanks. So the trolls couldn't even come up with a consensus on it, which I think made it all the more comical. But then, the wrong side of TikTok found me. So about 48 hours, it was just negative comment after negative comment after negative comment. But I made a little bit of a clapback video, and thank goodness, real, intelligent, open-minded TikTok found me. And it was really exciting to me because I had just been kind of under this horrible conservative microscope for a while, and I was like, okay, let's change this narrative here, folks, because I need to. And so what happened was Gay Talk found me, as I would like to explain them to be. And Gay Talk found me, and I found my salvation, right? What happened was I made a video being a little sassy because that's how I am from time to time. And everybody was like, oh my God, you're the inspiration we needed, blah, blah, blah. But I just pointed out to folks that I happen to have a degree in pastoral ministry with a concentration in the Bible and church planting. So I'm steeped in Christendom. I've been double fisting it my whole life. And I reminded them that nowhere in the Bible does it actually condemn LGBTQ people as we know them today. And it seemed to be a really good response of people following and the right people finding the video, you know. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the irony is that the amount of hate mail I'm a hot mess today. Welcome to live streaming. Um, but the amount of hate mail that I actually got, or hate comments, if you will, the algorithm saw that interaction and brought all of gay TikTok to my door. Yes, thank you, haters. 5,000 new followers later. The message is it exists and it's getting out. And I have all of the bigoted people on TikTok to thank for this phenomenon. So I've decided to start doing some interesting videos about the Bible and being LGBTQ. And I'm really excited to share them with everybody. So the first video I made today, I made a video about how in the Bible there is a queer person that is not only baptized, but affirmed and sent out into the world by the apostle Philip, or by the disciple Philip. And the coolest part about that is that this queer person, they were a eunuch, which means they were biologically queer at that time, right? The eunuchs were typically, or were people who were assigned male at birth, but through one way or another were castrated, right? Accidentally, intentionally. We don't know that. That's lost to history. But the fact is that their existence was queer, and that God told Philip to baptize this eunuch. And what was cool is that Philip was going away from the centers of religious powers of the day. The eunuch was going away from the center of religious power, and after Philip baptized the eunuch, which for those of you who aren't familiar with baptism, it's just kind of a symbol of your approval by God. And Philip looked at the eunuch and said, go forth. Philip didn't tell the eunuch to go back to the temple. Philip said to go out into the world, right? To take your new identity. It's not seated in the church. It's seated in your relationship with God alone. Carry that away from the temple and into the world, which I thought is the coolest message. So I made a video about that. And I dropped one today about the difference between sex and gender, because people seem to be really confused about that. At least Red Talk is. Red Talk is what I've taken to calling them, in case you're wondering. But I absolutely am pumped about this, because I explained to folks in 60 seconds the idea that gender is a social construct, meaning that gender is an idea that is constructed by societies, and it depends on the society in which it exists to define that gender, right? So let's take a very simple example. In American society, it is commonly assumed, which there's no biological reason for this, but it's assumed that people who have a penis are male and are masculine and should not wear dresses. It's all assumptions. It's all assumptions, right? But let's just take Scotland, for example, right? Let's take Scotland for an example. Men wear kilts, men wear dresses in Scotland. It's not a thing. That expression of gender is a social construct. And furthermore, once you take that idea of gender and you realize that it's dependent on the society it's in, it has no moral value. It has no religious value. It is purely a social construct, right? That's all it is, right? And that's fine. It doesn't necessarily matter either way. It just is a social construct, so you can't use it to condemn people to hell. Not an option. The idea of biological sex, though, people are always like, okay, even if gender is a social construct, you're still born what you're born. Hashtag false. Well, you're born what you're born, because that's what you are. But you can be born queer. As a matter of fact, science currently recognizes 13 different biological sexes. That is to say that science recognizes 13 combinations and permutations of just the X and Y chromosomes. You can be genetically one of 13 biological sexes, not two. Not two. This is why I say that nature is queer, because queer means defying binary categorization. And what binary categorization is one or the other, black or white, male or female, right? So it's one of two things. And that's just not the way the world works. There's way more than two genders, as we've defined, because there's way more than two societies, right? So gender is out of the water. But even further, if you drill down even further to biological sex, there is at least 13 different ways that you can be sexed. And they don't always, like, your DNA doesn't always match your genitals, and your genitals don't always match your DNA. And sometimes your genitals don't even look like anybody else's, right? And when we're having a conversation about strangers' biological sex, we need to ask ourselves why. Like, why are we asking a question about what's in someone's pants? Especially if you're talking about trans kids. There's a disturbing amount of people in America right now talking about kids' genitals. Trans kids' genitals. Does that seem creepy to anybody else? At any rate, I digress. So I put this out on TikTok. I can't wait to see what happens. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see if Red Talk snags it or if Gay Talk snags it. We will see, and it will be interesting no matter what. I can guarantee it. But I think it's going to be a good time. If you have TikTok and you're so inclined to follow the shit show, you can look me up. My name is Spiritually NB Leo WT. NB stands for non-binary. So I'm a non-binary person. I am both male and female and more, right? That's who I am as a person. And I am coming to understand myself as that way spiritually as well. So that's what I am on TikTok, Spiritually NB Leo WT. You can find more quips, funny videos, and, videos of me scooting past the haters, which I think might be my new tagline, because that's how I ended my first video. So find clips of me scooting past the haters 24/7 on my TikTok. And of course, we've got videos coming up here. This Sunday, I'm going to be talking to my friend Hunter Sanders about Christian anarchy. If you're ready for that conversation, I have news flash for you. Christianity was never about supporting the empire, which makes it wildly comical and ironic that America thinks it has a stake to Christianity, because Christianity and empire were never meant to go together. Not a thing. So we're going to be talking about that. I also have booked some really interesting folks. I have someone, a priest who is a black woman, and she's a priest of a progressive Catholic organization that's done a lot of protesting in the streets in terms of Black Lives Matter. We've got her coming on. We're going to be talking again with Rocky Raggio, the director of the film 1946, which talks about the year that the word homosexuality was introduced into the Bible. We've got Mama Jill Wallace coming on, I believe, this weekend. So lots of good things going on. Lots of other podcasts that we're going to be doing crossovers with. So I would encourage you guys, if you don't follow it, please follow me on YouTube. It's Conversations Official with Leo WT on YouTube. Follow the page on here. Follow the TikTok, turn on notifications, and subscribe wherever you can, because we've got some good things coming up. And of course, I'll keep you posted on the trolls on TikTok. The response was just, God doesn't have hands. And I have another friend coming on. Their name is Jude Sylvan, and they are a queer theologian who has a podcast called It's in the Book, and it's a queer reading of the Bible. And so Jude is coming on, and I'm really pumped about this because it's a well-known fact that the Bible is pretty terrible in some parts. And a lot of people aren't willing to approach those parts and have a conversation about it. But both Jude and I are graduate students studying religion and theology. We're religious professionals. And we're going to talk about the awful parts of the Bible and how you can take seriously a book that is so terrible in some parts, and how you can even see any value in it. So we're going to talk about the terrible and awful and shitty parts of the Bible. We're going to dive into it. We're not going to run away from it. So that'll be coming up in June. Lots of cool stuff, my friends. I hope to see you there. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to take my blue hands back to work. I actually just did a green hair color, but you can't tell because I look blue. So I'm going to take my Smurf hands back to work. I'm going to keep my sass up. I'm going to keep trolling the haters, and I'm going to have a good